Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Freedom Ridge Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Christina. We have been homesteading since 2018. This past year, we have done a lot more with gardening than I ever thought we would. We have our biggest garden by far with about 200 plus tomatoes, about 11 rows of corn, a good 60-foot row of squash, zucchini, melons, cucumbers, and peppers, and then our raised garden beds as well. This year we have not been getting a lot of rain, even though it's forecast for rain, so we have been struggling a lot with trying to get our crops watered adequately. So that's why I have not been vlogging as much, because we've just been trying to dive headfirst and get everything situated that we can. So far we have gone from doing a sprinkler system to getting soaker hoses laid out. We have 4 that are currently working, and then the rest of the rows we have to hook up still. The stuff that is not attached to the soaker hoses has been being watered by our sprinklers, and of course weeds are continuing to grow even without rain. But we have squash all there. Our melons are down here. These are our cucumbers. A few to pick. And then our pepper row. Boston pickling cucumbers. Over here is our evergreen long cucumbers. And then our peppers. Now, a lot of the stuff unfortunately did not make it because we thought it was getting adequate water and it was not. So unfortunately that was our fault. Also, we've been dealing with a lot of pests lately. It's been really hot out. So some of it is kind of hit or miss with everything that we've been doing. This year, I will happily admit, I've actually gotten a ton of green beans. Last year we were having problems with the deer getting into it, and this year we've been dealing with Japanese beetles. As you can tell, they're still eating away at the leaves, and they've been treated with neem oil and all that stuff, so but we've gotten a good decent harvest so far. So this green bean is red Grady greasy bean, And it is the first year we're actually growing these. They've been very prolific. The only downside, the Japanese beetles love them. We do have a trap. We have sprayed neem oil and sprinkled diatomaceous earth on everything. And then again, because of lack of rain, I've been trying to get up here to water so nothing dies. This is the first year we've actually had issues with getting everything watered adequately and not being able to rely on any form of rain in the forecast. So but these are delicious from what we've had. We've been able to freeze a ton of them. We're going to be putting some in our freeze dryer, and I've also canned a bunch as well. I've also given away a box to a friend of mine and let my mom come up and take some so she can can as well. These, I'm not 100% sure which ones these are. I had a few kind of half seeds for these and just kind of planted them here. That's why there's not a ton of them. Over here are potatoes that I have to pull. This box was supposed to be full of carrots. There's still some carrots in here. However, not all of them came up, so that'll be replanted for fall. These are Kentucky Wonder beans, climbing beans, and they make this trellis look amazing when it's nice and green and not yellow and lush. And I have some really big tough beans that I'm going to let go to seed so I can save them and replant them. And over here are some more of the same Grady. I think these are the red Grady greasy beans. So we tried both varieties this year. I have 2 halves of the trellises filled with these. And again, it looked better when it wasn't yellow. And we're supposed to get a ton of rain this weekend. I'm really hoping we do. Even though I've been trying to stay on top of it. I think our biggest fear this year was getting our upper garden figured out with water. That even though we've been trying to stay on top of our box garden, it hasn't really panned out that well. These are also the white or red Grady greasy beans. And this trellis, my goal was to be able to have the trellis covering this middle piece so I can plant spinach and cooler weather crops, but even with it getting as hot as it did, they all bolted. So I saved the seeds and I'll replant them. Over here we have bush wax beans. They aren't looking so good. Along the trellis here, I have planted more beans. It was peas on all of the trellises until it got too hot, and then I harvested all of what I could and just planted beans along these. So these are Kentucky Wonder pole beans along there and here. Right here is 1 and 2 of my volunteer tomato plants that came up. There's cherry tomato. I'm not 100% sure which variety. Hopefully I'll be able to tell soon. Along here, some more beans that got to be watered. Basil, more basil. Over here, pretty soon this is all going to be ripped up, are my broccoli flowers. I'm still getting some little broccoli heads, not enough, but a few that have to be cut. And then over here is my yarrow of different varieties. Yarrow, my comfrey, and my echinacea. This box over here was all of the garlic that I had planted. I did try to plant carrots, but they're not really coming up, so I'll have to retry that closer to fall. Over here is my horseradish. This was also carrots. I pulled them when they got too big. Jerusalem artichoke. This box also had carrots in it, and I'll probably be doing more carrots than that again in the fall. More broccoli. Box over in that corner is supposed to be strawberries. We didn't get as many this year. Hopefully that'll change for next year. This box had a ton of potatoes in it. I think there's still 2 potato plants left that I have to pull. Over here is all the lettuce, and I'm letting it go to seed. That way I can save it. Even with watering it, it just got way too bitter, and nobody likes bitter lettuce. More wax beans. And then again, this box was full of potatoes. I had moles eating them and potato beetles. Over here are strawberries and my mom's asparagus. This was supposed to be pine berries. They did not come through. Pretty sure I have a basil plant coming in besides all the weeds. Over here was my chamomile. Potatoes were over there. My pear tree. Looks like a pear right there. We were getting. I tried to plant lavender along here. It did not come up, no matter how much I watered. I figured that would be perfect for my beehives. Right now I have 3. 1 was a split. That one's still kind of small and weak. I'm hoping it strengthens before winter. This one here and this one are doing phenomenal. I go back in about a week from today to do another hive inspection, so I'll be able to see if the third super is full on both of those. I know the super on this one won't be full because they're still weak. I just gave them that extra space just so they have it. But again, this was supposed to be lavender. Over here is elderberry. Here and here, valerian root that overwintered and came back. Elderberry, more elderberry. Over here are Concord grapes that are starting to come in clusters. You might not get as many this year, but I'm okay with that. Kimrod seedless white grape right there and here. And this is my other Concord grape. There are the clusters, grapes there and there. Once I weed this box out in the fall, it'll turn into crocus saffron bulbs. We were getting some this past fall after I had planted them. So this year I'm hoping it comes back really well. Up here are all of my Kentucky Wonder wax beans and regular wax pole beans. We have this on a soaker hose as well now. It does not reach all the way down, unfortunately, so some of it still gets watered by hand. But what is being watered by soaker hoses is doing a lot better than what it was. Up here in these rows are our tomatoes. I have Jersey Devil, which looks like a horn. A bunch of slicer tomatoes here. Pretty sure this is my mushroom basket tomato, which will get a lot bigger than that. Over here, I have a ton of cherry tomatoes. That if my son knew I had right now, he would be up here in a minute trying to eat them. This is an Oxheart tomato. And these are Amy's apricot cherry tomato. That's what these are. These are the first time growing the Oxheart and the cherry, these particular cherry tomatoes. Don't mind all the gray stuff, that is diatomaceous earth. As you can tell, one split. These have been super tender and sweet. I highly recommend them. My son devours these. Over here we have some little tomatoes that are ready. And I do have to come up here later and go through everything and put everything up on the panel. Now, starting from over here, we have yellow bell paste tomatoes. As you can tell, one is starting to ripen. Oop. And from that plant forward is the same variety. And then one whole row on the opposite side is also paste tomatoes. I have marigolds here because we live along a field and I wanted to keep my food for myself and not the deer. So even though there's not a ton of marigolds, there should be enough. But from here over is not getting any water from the soaker hoses, but they're still thriving, so we must be doing something good for these beans. I have sunflowers here and there, and then just random flowers throughout. Here is passion flower. It is randomly growing. I did not plant that. Same as over here. The tomatoes along this third trellis are a few paste tomatoes and the rest are mixed between slicers and cherry. Then this trellis is also a mixture. Those are not labeled. But this row over here is all paste tomatoes. I tried to do the majority of my tomatoes paste. I have San Marzanos, Roma, Long Tom, and some other ones that I've never grown that are new. And then unfortunately, some of them are getting eaten and rotting. Again, up here, I have my cucumbers. They end right here. Over here, these are the watermelons and cantaloupe that survived, that I had planted. We're gonna have to figure out the watering down this half, since the whole row isn't watermelon, unfortunately. My squash plants are doing really good now that we've sprayed them down with lime and diatomaceous earth. And the corn, as you can see, is already doing amazing. I'm hoping we get a lot of corn this year. It's only the second time I've grown corn, and this is the first time in this magnitude that I've grown it. Over here, cube of butter. And over here, I got one. It'll probably be ready in about a day. Another one that should be ready in about another 2 days. Again, the corn will be watered by 2 sprinkler systems. Up here I have sunflowers planted, some zinnias. I did try planting hollyhocks. I don't think that came up. So the majority of these are sunflowers and zinnias. I don't know why that's so dry. There's a few of them like that. But this time last year, the garden stopped at this row. So from this row back was just our field. And we had everything from here to there for this part of the row, or field, and then our boxed garden. So we definitely have expanded quite a bit. We have to still add a trellis here for these tomatoes. And then all of those. Obviously, I have not been maintaining the suckers and that kind of stuff with these. But they enjoy the soaker hoses, that's for sure. Also, so far this year, luckily I have not really seen any hornworm damage, so I am hoping I don't jinx myself and see them. Then again, I've seen other bugs that I don't normally see until later in the season, so could be that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, thanks for coming along on my garden tour. Until next time, thank you.